agenda that we're going to do minutes first. So if you have any comments on the minutes, we're going to do the minutes first. Then new business out of order, and I'll explain that. Yeah, that one will go, well, go there. We're going to take them in order, except for the Washington Street. We'll go at the end of new business, But we're going to do minutes before new business. Okay, I thought, is that Maureen? Yeah, Maureen's going to be here. Let me just ask her if I should. Yeah, you can ask her questions. Okay, you guys get settled. We want to start. Settle down. Let me start. Ready? Okay. Good evening. It's 7 o'clock, July 28th. 2025. We are here in the Braintree Town Hall, Cahill Auditorium. I'm calling the Braintree Zoning Board of Appeals to order. Before we get started, I want to announce a change in the agenda. We're going to actually do our minutes first. That should take a very short amount of time. And then under new business, we're going to move petition 2514, 1139 and 1151 Washington Street to the end of new business. Now, I think we have to take a vote on that. Do we have to vote on that change of the agenda?
You do not.
We do not?
Nope.
Okay. So why don't I start with introductions? We have here staff. We have the Director of Planning and Community Development, Peter Maychek. We have the Zoning Planner, Jonathan Dickinson. And we also have Attorney Carolyn Murray from KP Law that will be helping us. So we are the ZBA now. The members present, I'm Raina Rubin, I'm serving as chair. Jose Perez is vice chair. Angela Kavanaugh is clerk. And we have Tom Kleber as our alternate. And we do not have another alternate. And that also serves as our attendance. So I want to acknowledge we have a lot of people here in attendance tonight, and we are going to have some rules. So if you want to speak on an item when it's up for discussion, you come up to the podium, name, address, and we're going to limit each person to 2 minutes for your discussion. And that's for all the items tonight. Any question will be directed to the chair, and then I will redirect it if I need to. As you know, we're new, so we will be including requests of guidance from the staff and attorney so that we're operating in a proper way. So I think we can start with the minutes, starting with July 7th, 2025. Did anybody have a comment on the minutes? No. I don't see anyone raising their hand on the ZBA. I noticed a couple of typos. Jonathan, I think the K in clerk is missing on the first page at the end. And I think at the top of page 2, I think my name might be incorrect, but just typos. Do I hear a motion to accept the July 7th minutes with those corrections?
I accept.
Second?
Aye. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
July 14th, 2025 minutes. Does anyone have any comments on those minutes from the ZBA? Did you catch anything? No? Would someone like to make a motion to accept the minutes of July 14th?
Motion to accept.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now we will move on to new business. So the first item is, reorganize myself here. So we're going to open the petition number 2513, 92 Celia Road. This is for a finding. The clerk is going to read the legal notice or the summary of the legal notice and affirm the notices.
Petition number 2513, 92 Celia Road. Demetrius Stavropoulos, applicant for relief from Braintree zoning ordinance pursuant to chapters 135, section 403A, and 135, section 701, to construct a 272-square-foot single-story addition to the pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling. The applicant seeks a finding as the proposed addition is within the rear yard setback at 15.1 to 16.6 feet, where 30 feet is required. There is 5.1 foot existing.
You want to talk about the notices to abutters? Did you already say that?
We don't need to do that.
You don't need to do that. Okay. Thank you. So the legal notice mentioned the relief. In this case, it's for a finding for the rear yard setback of a single-story addition. It's a pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling. The staff recommends approval of this with conditions. I think everyone's looked at this. I will just note that a finding requires a majority of the vote for approval. Would the applicant like to come up and present the project?
Good evening. My name is Demetrius Stavropoulos. I live in 92 Celia Road with my wife and 2 young boys. So I'm seeking relief to build an extension, basically a 3-season room, mudroom, and a small closet. So I think it will give value to the house and much needed space for my family. Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this? Seeing none. I don't think we got any letters on this one, so there were no letters entered into the public record. Does anyone on the board have any questions or comments that you'd like to bring up on this one? Jose?
No. No questions.
Angela?
Straightforward.
No, I'm all set.
Tom, any comments?
Questions?
No questions? I have no questions either. Close public hearing. I'd like to make a motion then to close the public hearing on this item. To make a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve the petition for 92 Celia Road. Rear back setback is in harmony and not detrimental to the neighborhood.
I second the motion.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The motion is passed. Thank you. Let's see. Okay, we're going to move on to, we're going to open the petition for number 25-15, 73 Beachwood Road. Again, this is for a finding. The clerk will read the legal notice.
Petition number 2515, 73 Beachwood Road. Logan Brown, applicant for relief from Braintree zoning ordinance pursuant to Chapters 135, Section 403A and 135, 701, to construct an addition to the pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling. The applicant seeks a finding as the addition is within the non-conforming western side yard setback at 0.3 feet, where 10 foot is required.
Is there anything you would like to add to that discussion, Jonathan? This is the side and the back. So this is the western side and also the back two decks, expanding a pre-existing non-conforming condition, a very, almost up to the abutter wall. Does the staff do you want to make any comments to us about this or expand the discussion at all?
So there is a letter of opposition that was turned in from the neighbor. They would like to attend the meeting tonight, but they had a pre-planned vacation. But they just wanted to make it known their opinion, that they feel that it's too close to the property line and detrimental where the umbrellas have, because it's high up, that it's fallen on to, from little wind, gone onto their property. But they just wanted to make that known.
Is the applicant here tonight? Come on up.
So yeah, we're looking to put a deck onto the back of our house.
Say your name and address.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay, I'm new to it.
My name is Logan Brown, 73 Beachwood Road. I'm here with my wife, Christy Goodman. So yeah, we're seeking to put a deck on the back of our house. We have sort of an interesting yard where the west side of our house is approximately 6 feet higher than the backyard. And our existing rear door on the house exits into that side yard, which makes it impossible to put a rear deck on with access just from the back. So we need to have a deck onto the side, and that provides space for a stairway to the backyard.
And you mentioned that we do have a letter that your neighbor has a problem.
Yep.
Is there anyone here to speak on this? Should we invite someone, or not yet? Oh, okay, do you guys have a question?
Yeah.
Perez?
Yeah.
Yes.
So have you ever thought about reducing the height of the deck?
So I actually brought some photos in that I can share. The deck is actually as low as it can possibly be due to the retaining wall. I think you only have 3 sets. Oh, we have a 4th set. Yep. So I'll bring these up there. Due to the
Thanks.
The deck is actually as low as it can be, given the retaining wall that's currently there. There's an existing concrete block in place, as well as part of the retaining wall that prevents the deck from being any lower.
It's at the height of our first floor. You're building on the back and also the side. I mean, you're right up against the wall. I mean, it seems, I get a little concerned about any kind of safety if somebody had to get by or get through there, or, I mean, it's very close. I mean, it's very close.
I mean, the deck can be entered from either
Well,
the back
the stairs, right?
Yep, we have stairs from the back, and then you can step down to the existing patio that's there.
The stairs are cornered into 2 retaining walls, so without the stairs, there's no access there anyway. There's like a 6-foot drop.
So moving the supporting beam to the right would be a problem?
I'm sorry, what was that?
The support that you have over here, moving that over to the left and maybe cutting it down, that's not an option?
The stairway?
Not the stairway, the support.
Supporting,
Yeah, so we do have the support beam over there.
So that can't be moved?
It can't be moved.
So it can't be made any lower because of the existing retaining wall that's there. It's tied in with the ledger of the house, so.
Okay, oh, got it, okay, I get it.
The staff report with the existing pictures, this has already been built, correct?
Yes.
How did this come to the attention of the building inspector?
As far as I'm aware, he had an existing inspection in the neighborhood and saw us working on it.
Okay. I too have issues with how close it is to the neighbor's property. I could foresee, if you can't lower the deck, it's almost as if you have two sections of the deck, right? You have the one in the back, the one in the side, and then the stairs going down. To me, the top portion of the deck, if you just had it going out to the face of the existing bump out, which was 5.1, I believe, you would have access from the door to walk to the back deck.
That's true, but it does not give us access to our backyard at that point.
Excuse me?
It doesn't give us access to our backyard at that point via a staircase.
Well, the stair could move to the back of the deck.
I'm not actually certain it can. I'd have to double check what the setback is, but I think that we would hit the 30-foot rear setback at that point and need a different variance. I
You'd
suppose,
need a
at that point.
variance at that point, correct? Right?
You know, our neighbors do have an existing non-compliant deck as well. It's kind of a fairly common thing in this area. It also, I do want to.
Explain to me what you're showing us here, what we're looking at here.
Yeah, so this is the permit, plot plan, and variance that our neighbors sought, I believe in 2002, for a similar deck that has a similar height where they can walk out through a slider onto their back deck.
Is this on the
That
other-
is, I think, 2.3 feet or 2.37 feet from their property line.
Is this on the other side of,
Correct. So it's not
Of their
directly adjacent
lot.
to our property. It is adjacent to their neighbor's property.
I think that it is a big consideration that this is already built and the neighbors already have issues with it.
Comments you'd like to hear from us?
So, if I'm understanding correctly, you're essentially building two decks, right? So one in the rear and one on the side. Am I interpreting
They're
this correctly?
connected together.
They're
Like,
connected.
They're functionally one deck. Yeah.
Are they flush? Is there
Yes,
a
they
step
are
down?
flush.
Okay. Can I ask, are you able to access the rear deck through the back of the house, or is the only access to the rear
No,
deck
there
through
are
the
just
side
windows
deck?
on that side. There is a sliding door on the side of the house,
Okay, and no
correct.
access from the back?
and no access from the back, correct.
Okay. Is there a reason why you couldn't move the staircase to the other side where you have your driveway right now, or shorten the width of the deck to create room for a staircase, giving you guys a smaller deck, but eliminating?
So shrink it on the western side, is that what you're saying? And then,
The eastern side, putting the stairs on that side.
okay. I don't know about doing the footing. So the way things are currently, we have a single beam that's across the back, so changing that would be difficult. We could potentially do stairs into the driveway, although that would make the access to our garage infeasible, I think. The driveway's already rather small.
Understand. And where is the garage? Is it attached to the existing house?
It is in the basement of the house, yes. So, do we have our plot plan? No, it's not actually marked on our plot plan, that's convenient. So yeah, if you see the cut in on the eastern side, that is where the garage is.
Understand.
It's
And,
like under the
and to be clear, without the side deck, the one abutting your neighbor's yard, you wouldn't be able to access the rear deck except for the
Correct.
exterior? Okay. I too share concerns about how close it is to the neighbor's property. I believe the concerns that they've raised are valid as well. Would recommend we take a look at potential new design. Want to recognize the fact that you guys have already made an investment in this, but also want to make sure that we're creating something that aligns with kind of neighbors' expectations and what we think is going to fit in the community as well.
So functionally, do I not have micro? Oh, there we go. It functionally doesn't change the sight lines of our view into their backyard. You know, we're on 5,500 square foot lots. Standing in our back room, we can see the entirety of their deck as is. So my view of their sort of comments about privacy I don't think are particularly valid, just because there's already not really privacy. That's sort of the trade-off of living in East Braintree.
I mean, I'll just make a comment. I mean, you built this and it's already causing problems. And, you know, you're asking for a finding
We were
that it's
not aware
that it's not detrimental.
Yeah.
Just my thought. But I'd also just want to check if there's anybody out here that wanted to speak on this matter, to make sure that we do make time for you. No? Okay, just want to double check. Did you want to say something, Mr. Dix?
Hi, Chair. I recommend a site visit, postponing and doing a site visit so you can see what, like, the height compared to the neighbor's fence is, who stated that it's 6 feet tall, because anything greater than 6 feet on a fence requires a permit through the building department, so that's why they made it 6 feet. So I recommend a site visit prior to make a determination if you feel that it is more detrimental.
Okay, let me ask my fellow members, Perez, Kavanaugh. So if we were going to do a site visit, I think then we would continue this hearing and set up a time to come. This would be not public. It would just, we wouldn't deliberate in any way. We would just come and look and make sure we understood what the situation is.
Okay.
You have to agree to a continuation. Do we have to vote? What's the formal?
If, Madam Chair, if you request a continuance to, let's say, your next meeting, you might also want to just arrange whatever the date might be for the site visit. Do we know the date the application was filed, to know if we're still within time? Oops, sorry.
28th, I believe they have just enough time.
To get to the August meeting?
Yes. I'll double check. Let me
Okay.
see here.
Madam Chair, it appears you might have enough time, but if not, you could certainly request the applicant's consent to continue to your next meeting, and in the interim, allow you to set up a site visit. And if it's necessary for the staff to follow up with a written extension agreement, they can certainly do so.
All right, did the applicant here, we would like to, just to make sure that we don't have a problem with the time frame, for you to consent to an extension to allow the site visit and continue to August 25th, the next hearing.
Yeah, I think that's
And
reasonable.
make time for us to come.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
Right, and so I think staff will set that up with us.
Okay.
All right, then I think we don't close this, we leave it open, we just move on to the next.
No, you need to take, Madam
Oh,
Chair,
we
you
need to take a vote to
continue.
continue. All right, we'd like to make a motion to continue.
I'll make a motion to continue to August 25th.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, so we voted to continue this and to set up a site visit.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let me just make a note. All right. So we're going to move on to the next item. We're going to open petition number 25-16, which is 36 Quincy Ave. Will the clerk read the legal notice, please?
Petition 2516, 39 Quincy Ave, Boston Gas Company, DBA National Grid applicant for relief from Braintree zoning ordinance pursuant to chapters 135, section 403A, and 135, sections 615.05, to demolish and reconstruct a fleet garage. The applicant seeks findings as the proposed fleet garage's front yard setback is 206.7 feet, where 10 foot is required. Rear yard setback is 38 feet, where 15 feet is required, and to alter and extend a pre-existing non-conforming structure containing a non-conforming use.
So this is basically, I think it's Boston Gas needs to basically demolish and rebuild facilities on this site to accommodate updated equipment and facilities. And that involves relief for the setback and the alteration of a non-conforming use. Am I catching all the main points, Jonathan? Do you want to add anything? Front yard, rear yard, front and rear yard setback. I would also note that, where'd they
We're
go?
just setting it up so everyone
I know, I
on the
just
screen.
want to make sure. They've already gone before the Conservation Commission and received, did you receive an order of conditions? It says approval, but I don't know if that's in the form of an order of conditions, because you do back up onto the water and there are resources there. You can explain that in your presentation if you want, but I just want to note that you've already got that approval, so you know, we know that it's compliant in that way. So would the applicant like to come up then? Or you're not ready yet?
Here. Name and address. Mark Mesh, 1 Lowell Street, Salem, Mass, with Winter Street Architects, here on behalf of National Grid. And so, Jonathan, okay. And if you can just click, or that's even better. I get to drive. Yep.
Does it help to move the podium closer?
Keep it over there and do you mind? So hit the right arrow. There you go. Let's see, do it. So the right arrow at the bottom. There we go. Okay. Can you zoom out a little bit? I think we're cropping it there. Forgive me. I usually have my own, and it tends to work. But this is a photo of the site about 1920, and the blue arrow points to this fleet garage that we're renovating. Another click, please. I think we got it now. So this is a photograph around 1957. We identified the cars to date the photo. We found it online. And then you can see the red square. Another click, please. And that is the fleet garage. This is the building that we're looking at now on site. And it's in this configuration. It had changed. We don't know when it became a fleet garage, but it's been used for that for decades, we understand. Click, please. A little close to that mic. So here's the garage. 2 clicks. And I wanted to point out for the finding, another one. The abutters are important in zoning always, and just wanted to show that we know the abutters. Another click, please, Jonathan. MBTA, we've got a commercial strip across the street. Click. Some housing is coming. Right across the river, and finally, the last abutter is the right there, the marina. Click again. Photograph of the existing garage. It's in pretty tough shape. That we could deal with. We tried to renovate it and expand it a little bit. Another click. This is the issue. Over the years, increasingly larger trucks. They needed to get them higher up on the lifts, and if you look closely, you'll see that truck is just inches from that beam, and there are times when it's gotten closer, so they need a new garage. And With the new garage comes everything. It'll be stretch energy code, it's gonna be all electric, it's gonna have accessible bathrooms instead of a little closet with facilities in it. The whole building's accessible. You can click again, please, Jonathan. Trying to think of the other features. It's just loaded. It's going to be a good building when we're done. This is the existing garage. Pretty much wide open in a couple of places. Not a lot of feature. Click again. This is what that north elevation, the one you can see, looks like. Pretty straightforward. This is a drawing, but from existingconditions.com. We did a laser survey of it before we started. Another click. This is the new one. What's important here is it's approximately the same footprint, as near as possible in the same location. It gets taller because we need to get those trucks up, and that's really a big part of the geometry. Off to the right is kind of the people places, and they're sort of low scale, just like the other one. These drawings are approximately equal in scale, in zoom. And then there's the floor plan. The yellow band that starts on the lower left and sort of winds its way up is the increased footprint. And it's towards Quincy Ave and towards, to the north just a little bit. Setback is one of our issues. We're way back. I forget the number. It's supposed to be between 10 and 15, or 0 and 15, I think, in Braintree, Weymouth Landing District. We're well beyond that. And then just the floor plan of it. Click, please. And that's what it looks like. The blue's a little off, and the color hasn't been selected. If you have a requirement, we'd be happy to listen. But just to give you a sense of what it should look like. Another one. And Al's up. This is the site plan.
Good evening. Al Trachmus from SciTech Engineering, 769 Plain Street in Marshfield. I don't know how much you want to get into the site engineering. Really, this is a remove and replace. The building footprint is slightly enlarged to accommodate the handicap bathrooms. Everything needs to be just a little bit bigger. And as Mark mentioned, the height of the vehicles has increased over the years. We have been before the Conservation Commission. We have received a negative determination of applicability with conditions, and we're really just replacing the building. We're not going any closer to the Smelt Brook or the Manatequit River, and there are surrounding buildings here that we're really confined to where this building is located. It really is just a remove and replace of a very old structure. And we will be going to administrative site plan review as well, so we're not done yet.
Do any members of the zoning board want to ask any question for any clarifications, questions of the applicant? Yeah, please. We have some questions.
First one is you indicated the application. You said a couple times that you're going to be increasing the size of the building somewhat, a little bit. I'm curious, could you quantify that a little bit more? Exactly how much bigger is this building going to be than the existing structure?
It's in the application.
Come up and speak in the microphone.
Top of my head, I can't answer that, but it's in the application. It's, we dialed it in pretty accurately, I think.
So the building coverage is extended from 3.9% to 4.2%.
Oh, okay, I understand. Thank you.
I mean, it's not square footage, but it gives you some magnitude.
That's fair.
Maybe the square footage is in here too somewhere. Mr. Matchik?
Thank you. The existing building is 21 feet tall, and it's going to be proposed at 30 feet. 30 feet. So it's going to grow by about 9 feet in height.
Which I imagine is necessary in order to be able to lift the trucks up, given how much the
Yeah.
trucks have increased in size over time.
Just to make a note, yes, Jonathan and myself did a site visit today, and we did witness that truck in the garage, and it is inches away from the top, and that's a big truck. And it's not high enough for someone to actually walk underneath it. You know, you kind of have to crouch down and go under. And obviously the trucks have gone bigger. There was a vac truck on site today. This is just I would say the current truck sizes, right? And also, it was very interesting for me, and please, and speak to this, the applicant can speak to this, is that this fleet garage, that they're set up regionally, right? So this one is here in Braintree. There's another fleet garage in Dorchester. There's an additional fleet garage, geographically located, obviously sprinkled around the area. But obviously, this site is very important to kind of upkeep and maintain those obviously trucks and the facilities for National Grid.
Thank you.
Yeah, one other question, and obviously it makes sense to me, right? Like if they're not fitting into the existing garage, you guys need more space. One thing I did notice, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have 2 bay doors, you're going to 3 bay doors with the new garage, is that right?
That's correct, yeah. They have 3 repair spaces. They just have to, it depends on the size. They just kind of have to make it up where they go. In the new garage, we also, the last bay that's deeper, that's an inspection bay. The state regulations require it to be 40 feet long, and that's why that one's longer.
Understand. Thank you.
Sure.
I don't think we received any letters on this. And is there anyone in the public, I think I asked that, wanted to speak? I mean, I think it looks to me like you've done what you could do in terms of trying to minimize any kind of impact here, and you're using, stretch code. You were sensitive by going to the Concom first, making sure if they had any issues that you could incorporate those into your design. I know equipment, has changed in the last, 50 years. And I don't see a detriment here, to the area. Would any of you folks like to make any other comments? Oh, I would. Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate that you tried to match the existing footprint as close as possible. It's not too much bigger, which is definitely a good thing. I did have a question. It looks like on the south side of the site, there's another office building, perhaps, that's part of the property. I was just wondering, in terms of the height for the new building, how that compares to that other, what looked like a 2-story building to me?
Go backwards so you see that rendering. We'll see if we can see it. Are you talking about the one in the upper right corner of this image?
Yes.
So that, you had seen it, that's I'm going to say that's probably a 30-foot building. We have it in the model, we modeled it. And coincidentally, that building's being completely masonry restoration soon. It's not out for permit yet, but there's other activities, as of right, repairs and what have you. But this is a little bit shorter than that, I would guess. I can give you a clearer answer with a little bit of time at the computer. Yeah, I think so.
The fact that this is going to be, brought up to code in terms of the energy code as well as the accessibility code, I think is definitely a plus.
Any more comments? Member Perez, Cleaver? Do I hear him? Oh, wait. Director Mitchell.
Great. I just want to also paint the picture, the full picture for everybody. And through the conversation that we had today, upgrades along Quincy Avenue are going to be made through this project. Right now, there's an iron rod fence. There's some bent pieces. Those are going to be fixed. The iron rod fence is going to be put back together again. They're going to be repointing some of the bricks. And so work is being done along Quincy Ave here to kind of bring up the site in total, including masonry repairs to the historical building that's going to remain on site. So this is just one piece of a full kind of a full parcel upgrade, I'm going to call it. And if you do have any questions, obviously the applicant can expand on that. But the site is being looked at also from Quincy Avenue to kind of pick up the, you know, no pun intended, the curb appeal.
Don't look to too many Boston Gas repair facilities for curb appeal, but I'll take it. Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on this? Yes, come on up.
Justine Huang, 25 Lakeside Drive. I really had a quick question is, after this expansion, is there any plan to expand more service? Like how much more of service is this building planned to service? My major concern is how many big trucks going to run to that area with the new building is also coming up to the where the old Bell side, we're building a new building there too. So just want to check, asking is there any plan to expand service for this new building?
One of the applicants like to get up and talk about, is this going to generate more truck traffic? Is it going to generate more service, or is it just to maintain your operation?
So the fleet is static, and I'm told that it is the same set of vehicles. They're going to go someplace else temporarily, and in Dorchester, there's a new garage being built, and this doesn't start construction until that one's done. And there's a little bit of lending under those kinds of circumstances, but the steady state is not an increase. They're not going to be bringing a bunch of new trucks here.
Thank you. Anyone else? So should we close the hearing or just take a vote? Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to close the public hearing on this petition.
I'll make a motion to approve the petition.
Well, first we want to close the public
sorry,
hearing
sorry.
first, and then we'll vote
Right.
on the petition. I'm sorry. We sent a lot of little steps. Make a motion to close the public hearing for petition number 25-16.
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Now, I think we can, does anyone on the ZBA, would you like to make any comments about approving this or disapproving, or how you are viewing this petition?
I think we discussed it
Enough?
enough for me.
Okay, now, would you like to make a motion, I think, to approve?
Yep. I'll make a motion to approve the petition for 39 Quincy Ave and find that the proposed demo and reconstruction of the fleet garage is in harmony with the general purpose and its intent.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Petition is approved. Thank you. Let's see now. We're going to move on to open petition number 2517, right? Yeah. 29 Grey Terrace. Now, this is for a variance, and just to note, a variance does require unanimous decision, and for approval, it needs to be unanimous of the board. The clerk can read the legal notice, please.
Petition number 2517, 29 Grey Terrace. Ahmed Sarwat, applicant for relief from Braintree zoning ordinance pursuant to chapters 135, section 407, 135, section 102, and 135, section 603, to convert a 289 square foot storage space into a fourth garage space. The applicant seeks a variance for the fourth garage space where 3 garage spaces are allowed.
So the applicant wants to add a 4th garage bay in a zone that only allows 3, and that's why we need to, it's a variance. But it's not expanding the footprint of the building, I guess. Let's see. There was a letter on this one, I believe. A letter from a butter in support, I think. Did everybody saw that? The neighbor, yep. Is the applicant here tonight? Yes.
My name is Yamna. I live in 29 Grey Terrace. Sorry I don't have a presentation, but yeah, basically it's existing storage, so nothing's changing. We just want to convert it to a garage for our growing family.
I guess my question is I mean, you're asking for a variance, and, well, I don't have questions about the design or whatever. I think what we will need to discuss is where there's a hardship or what the problem is that, you know, you can't live with what you have or have a different configuration that doesn't require a variance for this. You just decided this would be a good thing to do because you have an extra car? Or?
Yeah, we have 3 kids, so we figured why not when it's, I mean, yeah, just thinking to convert it, so.
Does anyone have questions for the applicant here? Tom, you look like you have a question.
Yes, I think, thank you so much for coming and presenting. You don't need to bring a PowerPoint with you, that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay, that's what we have all this for.
Okay, good, yeah.
So if I'm understanding correctly, it's an existing storage unit that you're just, it's at the end of the garage?
Yeah,
and you're going to put a garage door there?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you need to make any adjustments to your driveway in order to get access to pull a car in? Is there any additional construction that you're going to need that's going to affect setbacks or anything like that related to expansion?
No.
Okay. So the storage space is more towards the middle of your lot than the side of your lot?
Yeah, it's more towards the backyard.
Okay.
So the garages would be facing our neighbors, the one that we're supporting it, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
It does say on here that you're proposing some paving. It looks like some pavement. Is that proposed where the 4th bay would be, in front of where the 4th?
Was that for the patio?
Or is that not, is that already paved?
I mean, no, we didn't pave anything yet.
Okay. So there would be a little bit.
Madam Chair, can I speak?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Member Kavanaugh.
So, strictly speaking, in order for us to grant a variance, there's really supposed to be some sort of substantial hardship. There's a couple reasons why, but I guess in your application, I didn't really see any description of a hardship because, or due to any site conditions. It does just seem you just want to convert the garage, but there's not necessarily any hardship to the variance.
No.
And right now, up to 3 garages are allowed in the zoning.
Yeah. Yeah, I worry a little bit about setting a precedent, you know, that other people just say, oh, I just want to do this, so they did it over here, so why shouldn't I do it over there? That is a concern of mine. Do you have any comments, Member Perez or Tom?
Not at the moment.
Does the staff have any comments to add or perspective or?
Chair, I would look at just not only the application, but also the neighborhood, what it's in, if it matches the characteristics of the neighborhood, and if it meets the variance criteria.
We close the public hearing or don't? Just. Did anyone have a public comment I think, on this matter? Thank you. So I guess we have a motion to close the public hearing first before we vote on the matter.
Okay.
Like to make a motion to close the public hearing?
Aye. Close the public hearing.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. I'm not feeling too positive about this one. I don't know how you guys are feeling, but I don't know if we want to make a motion to approve or deny. I would only say, make a note that all three of us need to approve it for it to go through. Even if a majority approves it, it doesn't go through unless it's all three of us.
So I make a motion?
Wait a
Well,
minute.
I would just say that,
Kavanaugh.
you know, we're new at zoning, but we've been studying the zoning book, and we've been, you know, if we strictly go by the letter of the law, I don't think that this would, in my opinion, qualify for a variance. I tend to also agree with you in terms of precedent. If this, you know, there's supposed to be, even on the application, certain conditions that I just don't believe are there in this case.
I feel that way. I see it that way too, also.
I do, I mean, it would fit in, I believe, but it's just, yeah, that's sort of how I feel.
Yes, please. Counselor?
So just as a reminder for folks, you're absolutely right. The variance, there has to be some kind of a condition that exists on this lot that's due to its shape, soil, or topography. And if you've got an existing structure that's already being used, and there's no expansion of the footprint, perhaps that lends itself to the fact that there may not be something unique to the shape, soil, or topography, because we're not looking to add a fourth garage bay on. But you might also just want to, if it looks like the applicant is not going to be able to get a unanimous vote to this board, you might want to also offer the opportunity that the applicant could withdraw this application. Not suggesting you have to do that, but if this board goes ahead this evening and denies your application, you cannot bring it back for 2 years unless it is considered to be materially different from what you're showing on the plan. So just a thought.
So would you like to consider withdrawal before we vote? It's not looking real good right now, so that's, I think, what
We're not really doing much except converting it, so what? So is it definitely, I don't know.
doesn't meet the standard of a hardship due to the, you know, the box within which, the conditions within which we are to evaluate, it doesn't quite fit. So that's kind of, I think, where we're feeling kind of stuck on this. Or not stuck, but having a hard time approving it.
Can I ask a question of our staff?
Please, Cleaver.
The zoning bylaw in this instance. So it's a maximum of 3 garage spaces in an existing attached garage. Were the applicant to come forward and request a separate detached unit, a single car garage, 2 cars, that would still not be allowed? It's 3 garage spaces regardless, right? Okay, thank you.
Correct. It's 3 total on the lot.
Understand, thank you.
Mr. Matchek? I don't know if you guys have the appetite for a site visit. I've actually driven by, so.
Me too. Me too.
I don't know if you want to wait for.
I don't feel the need to do that.
No, but thank you. So I guess it's up to you if you want to have us vote or if you want to withdraw it and figure out another approach or something else.
Yeah, you guys can vote. That's fine.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
You guys can vote, that's fine.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion, I guess, to deny? That would be the motion. Oh, make a motion to approve or deny this application.
Well, I make a motion to approve the petition. I do not think that it's detrimental to the neighborhood, and I do think that right now it's being used as storage and converting it to a garage. It's not really going to make much of a difference to the way it's currently laid out.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Aye.
Opposed.
Sorry, it's been denied. Thank you. Okay. Do we want to take a break before we start? What?
Is that you're going to be calling for a X
Yeah, I was-
amount of minutes recess.
Do you guys want to take a 5-minute break? Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break, and do we have to vote on that? And then we will move on to the last item under new business. I'm going to say we got 30 or 40 of them, but some opposed and some for. Okay. It's after 8 o'clock. I think we can get started. Would people like to start up again? Okay. I'm going to open petition number 25-14, 1139 and 1151 Washington Street. This is for 4 variances. The clerk will read the legal notice. Thank you.
Petition 2514, 139 and 1151 Washington Street. Stephen Young, Mona River LLC applicant for relief from Braintree zoning ordinance pursuant to chapters 135-407, 135-701, 135-705, and 135-806A to construct a 59-unit multifamily residential building. The applicant seeks variances for open space per dwelling unit, density, parking, and number of building stories.
Thank you. So this involves variances of 4 aspects of this project. One is the number of stories of the building, 4 stories in the back, the number of parking spaces per unit, less than the, I think, 2.0 zoning, and the number of units of the whole project, 59 units, which is above the by right, or it's above several aspects of the site, and also a variance for reduced open space per unit, square footage of open space per unit. Is there any comment that the staff would like to add on this project before we invite the applicant up? Want to add anything or any comment about the project before I invite the applicant up?
Nope, I sent the staff report. You have multiple positive and opposition letters. And based on the, I recommend a site visit as well as reviewing, the applicant's presentation and then any public comments.
Okay. So we're going to have the applicant make their presentation first, and we can discuss that, and then the public will be invited to speak based on the rules. And as we said, we received, 30 or more letters. All the letters are posted. The zoning, the committee, we have copies of everything that we have been able to review. So we will not be reading them into the record, but you are here to speak. But let's start with the applicant. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Good evening, Madam Chairwoman and members of the board. My name is Tom Cavanaugh. I'm an attorney in Quincy, and I'm here representing the applicant, Mona River LLC. With me is the applicant and the architect on the project, Steve Young. In addition, Brad McKenzie of McKenzie Engineering is here. My plan was to give a brief introduction, then I'd turn it over to Mr. Young to make a presentation, who I then think would turn it over to Mr. McKenzie to make his presentation. As you're aware, the project is located at 1139, 1151 Washington Street. In that area, those parcels are zoned general business. This is the site of the Dalton Water. It's made up of 4 assessor lots. It's about 1.84 acres. As you will see on the plans to the rear, it abuts the Manattaquit River. Currently, it's a non-conforming industrial use with non-conforming industrial buildings, 2 dwellings, gravel, trucks, storage units, water pools, all located within the 100-year floodplain and the riverfront buffer. The 20-foot no disturbed is severely degraded. The assessor lots are located within the 100-year floodplain, the riverfront buffer zone, as well as the wetlands. As you know, these are critical resource areas to the town. If you look at the lot as it's shown on the plan, it is essentially an upside-down pork chop lot. The shape, soil, and topography make up the hardship here. The northeast corner, where the lot is located on the northeast corner of Washington Street to about the southwest area of the site, there's a 15-foot drop in grade. Along the frontage on Washington Street, there's a 10-foot drop in grade. If you look at the plans, the depth varies from 184 feet to 434 feet. The width from 246 feet to 106 feet. The soil conditions in the riverfront area are sensitive, unknown if they could even be built in, and even if they could be built in, could cause serious contamination to the waterfront. Unlike other parcels in this area, we're constrained by roadway, an industrial site, the resource area, and as well as a narrow building area. In the area, there's other multifamilies, religious institutions, medical aid, fast food restaurants, shops, Dunkin' Donuts, and just right up the street, the South Braintree Square. This is what I think in planning would be considered an anchor to the South Braintree Square as you enter in Braintree from the south from the neighbors Holbrook. The proposal here is to raise all existing structures on the property. The proposal is to construct 59 units with 90 parking spaces, completely revitalize and rebuild the riverfront, provide adequate drainage to protect the resource area, with all improved areas being substantially landscaped. As you'll notice in the application, there aren't any dimensional or setback variances being requested here. The variances here relate to the first one being stories. As I indicated, there's a serious drop in grade. There's a resource area to the rear. The proposal was then to make all parking on grade and to bring it underneath the building. The first story is this not inhabitable. It's to capture the parking. It's to provide the adequate parking underneath. The alternative to that is to put parking in the resource area, which I don't think anybody wants. So the 4 stories is to capture that parking. However, what you'll notice is the height restriction in Braintree is 50 feet. We're still under 50 feet. On the Jefferson Street side, I believe we're at about 37 feet. On the side next to Mento, we're at 47 feet. So we comply with the height restriction. It's the story restriction we don't comply with because we need to find space for parking. The parking proposed is 90 spots. The ratio there is about 1.5 parking spaces per unit, which will be enough to do one parking space per bedroom, essentially. The parking is going to be dealt with in leasing. The applicant intends to rent these units. Parking spaces will then be dealt with when somebody signs a lease. Each person gets a spot, or this unit gets 2, or that one gets 1. But the leasing will be adequately dealt with during the leasing process. There's provided bike storage. There's also UV chargers for cars. And the MBTA is not too far away as well for those that would like to walk. The next variance we're seeking would be for density. Right now, the ratio is about 31.9 units per acre. That is consistent with this area. That is consistent with recent decisions in this area. And that suggests it would not be a substantial detriment to the area at all. In addition, relative to the open space proposed is 42.5%. That's a reduction of what's there now by about 10%. And in the underlying zoning district, it's only 10%. So while we are seeking a variance, it does comply with the underlying zoning, and it is a reduction of what's there today. Based on all this, I'd suggest that the enforcement here does create a hardship. If you look at the location of the resource areas, as I indicated, the width of the lot, the depth of the lot, the area where actually buildings and structures could be built, creates a substantial hardship. But relief can be granted without a substantial detriment to the public good. This is a mixed-use area with other multifamilies. There's a large number of businesses in the South Braintree Square. There's a Dunkin' Donuts across the street. There's a restaurant and bar right next door, 2, actually. This is going to provide traffic there. This is going to provide customers for those local businesses. This is going to be a tax revenue increase in the town. And if you look at the bedroom makeup, it's 1 and 2 bedroom units. I'd suggest this will not be a toll on the schools. or the resources of the town or the municipal services that are provided by this town. And I believe that the relief can be granted in the spirit and intent of zoning. We're revitalizing a parcel that is severely degraded, a waterfront area that needs revitalization, and essentially 4 assessor parcels that need to be revamped. I'd suggest that the plan is economically strong, and I think it's something that you guys should seriously consider. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Steve Young, who is, again, the architect and the applicant on the project.
Thanks, Tom. Thank you, Chairwoman Rubin and the board for your time and consideration tonight. As Tom mentioned, this project is in line with recently approved projects and, most importantly, reasonable. My design has been influenced by many factors, including the unit count, parking ratio, and number of stories. These calculations, both sensible and extensive, were greatly influenced by a myriad of factors. Those factors include health, safety, convenience, and welfare, the Jefferson Street, Shepherd Road neighborhood, trip generation, the 30-unit multifamily building across the street, the 181-bed assisted living facility across the street, the Dunkin' Donuts, the industrial site Mento Landscaping next door, the Tree Restaurant and Bar, the Manaquit River environmental needs, the zoning bylaws, recently granted relief for similar projects, the Wetlands Protection Act, FEMA flood zones, open space, Braintree's housing needs and master plan goals, interest rates, construction costs, and inflation, aesthetics, financeability by a lender, and marketability. Last year, the Town Council voted to approve a rezone from Residence B to general business. The Council was concerned about potential allowed uses in the district of general business, including daycare, offices, medical center, restaurant, retail, and a school, all as of right in this district. The Council discussed concern of those uses adjacent to a residential neighborhood. The proposed use, both then and now, was multifamily residential. This played a key role in the Council's unanimous decision, as having residential uses adjacent to one another provides the most logical transition from single-family neighborhoods. A critical distinction I'd like to make tonight about this submission is twofold. One, you're going to, as you can probably tell, hear a lot of comments tonight. Those comments, in my humble opinion, the vast majority of those apply to the general business zoning. In other words, what's allowed there. For example, it's just too tall. As Attorney Kavanaugh mentioned, on the Jefferson Street, the height of the building is 37.5 feet. We can go 50 feet as of right. We're 12.5 feet below that. Another distinction on your comments, I would love tonight for the board to consider comments that are zoning related as opposed to those that are not. Sounds simple, but we'll know when we get there. Zoning commentary. I'll mention the four areas of relief we're seeking tonight. Density. The proposed multifamily residential development seeks approval at a density of 32 units per acre, a figure that may exceed the limitations of Braintree's legacy zoning bylaw, but is squarely within the range of density approvals the town has granted in recent years through ZBA variances, conversions, and local permitting. The town's record demonstrates a clear and consistent disposition to permit higher density development where the context, design, and public benefits justify it. Recent density approvals in Braintree. Recent projects illustrate that densities above 30 units per acre are no longer exceptional, but instead reflect a recognized need for thoughtful, higher density infill development. Notable examples include 60 Pearl Street, which is 32 units per acre, built and now occupied. 84 Pearl Street / French Avenue, 34.5 units per acre, built and occupied. 107 Hancock Street, 30 units per acre, under construction. 40 Allen Streets, 37.6 units per acre, under construction. These developments, approved within the last 10 years, show a clear trajectory. Braintree has adopted a pragmatic and location-sensitive approach to residential zoning that departs from rigid adherence to outdated formulas. The ZBA and planning departments have repeatedly supported multifamily housing at this scale when paired with thoughtful planning and, importantly, site-specific mitigation. The town has previously acknowledged that the densities currently permitted in the zoning bylaw, for example, 5,000 to 6,000 square feet per unit, do not reflect current needs or practices. Consequently, the town has demonstrated flexibility in permitting multifamily projects well above the base density. The town has additionally acknowledged that densities between 30 and 38 units per acre as acceptable precedents with 60 Pearl Street and 84 French Avenue already built and functioning successfully. This confirms that the proposed density of 32 units per acre is not speculative, but sorted by real, recent, and successful development outcomes. I mentioned before about the site mitigation and how it has to be of a general good for the public and the welfare. Significant environmental benefits of this proposal include wetlands restoration, which will enhance the ecological health and long-term functionality of the site, groundwater remediation, addressing existing contamination or quality issues on the site from its previous industrial use, compensatory flood storage. We have 10,000 cubic feet of underwater flood storage, which protects adjacent properties and mitigates future flood risks. Removal of multiple structures from the floodplain. Today, including these storage swimming pools, there are over 5 structures there that are slated to be removed. This will give the water someplace to go as opposed to displacing it. Again, these efforts will go above what is typically offered in multifamily projects to offer permanent, measurable public benefits, along with Braintree's goals for environmental protection, floodplain management, and sustainability. The conclusion on the density part is that a 30 units per acre project is in line with Braintree's evolving practices. Recent density approval, staff planning commentary, examples confirm that the town recognizes the need to provide higher density, high quality housing where appropriate. When paired with environmental remediations such as thoughtful design and sound planning, such proposals have not only been permitted, they've been embraced. The next zoning issue I'll comment on is parking. As mentioned in Jeffrey Dirk of Van Ness and Associates report, the proposed parking ratio of 1.5 spaces per unit is well within the documented range of observed peak parking demands for similar multifamily mid-rise developments, which ranges from 0.39 to 1.75 spaces per unit, with an 85th percentile demand of just 1.45. The provided 90 spaces for 59 units exceeds this benchmark, ensuring sufficient parking even under high demand conditions. Given the semi-urban setting and design efficiency, the requested variance from 2.0 space zoning requirement is both reasonable and data supported. The new standard in similar semi-urban communities is now 1 spot per unit or less. Example, Watertown and Quincy are both now 0.5 spots per unit. Our proposed parking of 90 spots equates to more than 1 spot per bedroom. The next zoning comment I'll discuss is the number of stories. The number of stories relief of 4 stories where 3 are allowed is an important request. As mentioned, the ground floor will be excavated and mostly concealed from Washington Street. The proposed building complies with the 50-foot height limit, but due to the zoning definition of a story, the partially underground lower parking level must be counted as a 4th story despite not containing any living space. Because of the site's varied grading and recessed top floor, the building presents as 2.5 stories from Washington Street at the Jefferson Street side of the facade and 3.5 stories at the Mento side of the front facade. To date, Braintree has consistently approved variances for story count when the allowed height limits in general business districts are respected and visual impact is minimal. To have a 50-foot front facade, again, which is allowed by right here, with 3 stories would result in 16.7-foot floor-to-ceiling heights, tremendously overscaled for a residential neighborhood. This drawing here shows the allowed building envelope in green, showing we're substantially underneath it. It also shows the single-family residential house on the corner of Jefferson Street. So there's some shadow studies floating around. When the elevations and the grading of the site are considered, they tell a much different story. This shows how the overall impact of the building's height was attempted from a design perspective to be minimized as much as possible. We didn't want it to be, as the designer, as the architect, I did not want it to look like one long building. So the center portion, as you can tell, is grayed out for it to present for it to appear at a glance at two not as long buildings. And then the third story, or by definition, the fourth story here, is substantially recessed. So the design intent, whether successful or not, was for this to read as a 2.5-story building when it was abutting the residential neighborhood. I tried to minimize its height as much as possible from a design perspective. The next zoning article I will comment would be open space. Section 135-705 requires 2,000 square feet of open space per unit, which would total 126,000 square feet for the proposed 59 units. At 1.84 acres, the site cannot meet this standard. Similar to other multifamily properties in and around South Braintree Square, which are typically on smaller, non-conforming lots. In fact, no nearby multifamily developments meet the 2,000 square foot per unit requirement, and only parcels in the area large enough to do so are either town-owned or unbuildable. Despite this, this project provides 42.5% open space, more than 4 times the 10% required in a general business district, equaling 34,170 square feet, or about 542 square feet per unit. While this represents a 10.5% reduction from the current condition of 52% open space, the proposed areas will be landscaped, functional, and well integrated with the site's environmental improvements. Non-zoning commentary. You'll hear a lot about this tonight, and if the board should choose. I'd like to comment on traffic. This is not a zoning issue. This project is expected to result in only one additional vehicle every 3 minutes during peak weekday hours, an increase imperceptible to the broader traffic network. Furthermore, the elimination of industrial truck traffic associated with the existing Dalton water use will reduce the disruptive effects of large semi-tanker trucks. As such, the development will not materially increase delays or queuing in South Braintree Square and represents a traffic-neutral transition. Building height, again, not a zoning issue. We are not asking for a height relief. The proposed building is 37.5 feet tall at the corner of Jefferson and 46 feet tall on the Mento side. Shadows, not a zoning issue. Shadow study circulated by an abutter was inaccurate and, most importantly, failed to consider the substantial grade changes on the subject property. In the building, and if you notice on this plan here, the building proper is shown in that peach color, only directly backs up to two of the Jefferson Street homes. I have prepared an accurate shadow study tonight. It's here with me now. And I'm happy to share that should the board choose to see it. I've oriented the model to the correct compass heading and geolocated it to Braintree, 42.2 degrees north, 71 degrees west, to ensure proper sun angles. I'm happy to share that study. I've showed both winter solstice and summer solstice. Flooding, again, not a zoning issue. Brad McKenzie from McKenzie Engineering is here tonight to discuss river water and floodwaters. Exponential changes are being proposed. Notably, 5 structures sure. The lower one? Yeah, sure. There's, as mentioned by Attorney Kavanaugh, there's 5 existing structures that currently displace floodwater are being removed from the floodplain. The new design pulls the project as far away from the river resource as possible, placing it on the front setback line. The new elevated podium construction design is substantially open on the ground floor to allow floodwaters to enter 2 subsurface drainage storage systems where it will be cleaned, stored, and slowly re-released. The wetlands restoration and groundwater remediation will additionally relieve flooding events. Income restricted units are not required as Braintree has no inclusionary bylaw. This project is offering 10% income restricted units as one of the many community benefits. Income restricted is at or below 80% of AMI. Tax benefits. This proposal increases tax revenue from its current levels by over 5 times, from the current charges to approximately $176,000 a year of additional tax revenue. Green building technology. The project has increased the number of EV charging spaces from 4 to 33. Solar has been added to the flat roof design. Additionally, there is bike storage, heat pumps for primary heating, closed cell spray foam insulation, central hot water, and Energy Star rated appliances throughout. In closing, I have a responsibility to both the town and myself to make this project viable. If it's not viable or so lean that I can't provide upkeep, restore the wetlands, or maintain things like lighting and landscaping, then I'd guess would ask what's next for this property. As I hope is clear, this project has been my passion, and I look forward to partnering with the town. The revised design is in harmony with and not derogating from the purpose and intent of the town's bylaws. The granting of these variances will not cause harm or detriment to the public good while providing quality housing serving the public welfare. After many reiterations, I've devised a viable solution providing environmental benefits, inclusionary units, green technologies, a 1.5 parking ratio downtown, increased tax revenue, floodplain mitigation and stormwater management, removal of diesel trucks, semi-tractor trailers from downtown being parked and serviced on a riverbank, removal of chlorine tanks from the riverbank, an outdoor reflection space for residents abutting an inadequate river, and meeting or exceeding the required landscape buffers for increased screening and privacy. Thank you for your time and consideration to the board and for hearing me out tonight. Thank you.
I have one question of clarification. You've designed some of your the wetlands mitigation and restoration. Have you reviewed this with a Concom or with a conservation agent?
So we've had 2 informal, I should say, sit-downs with them, and we're very comfortable that we're exceeding Concom requirements. There's a lot of existing paved surfaces on these 4 parcels that we are proposing to substantially reduce that. We will be restoring the wetlands with native species. Again, Brad McKenzie's here. He could talk more about ComCon, but you know, the existing use by the Daltons has been grandfathered in. It's been there forever, but it's now non-compliant. So our intent is to restore the wetlands, do as much as physically possible from an engineering perspective, and remediate the flooding that's there and affecting the neighborhood.
It's hard for me to tell what materials, is it, I mean, it's just gray, is it that you're using on the building, is it?
Right, so that was
It's like concrete.
that was a little bit of a to be determined. That it was. There's a product called Nichiha. It's a I believe it's originally a Japanese product, but it's a 1/4-inch paneling, and that would be in like not a stark white, like a soft white or a beige color. The design intent of the top floor, including the central entry piece, would be importantly dark in color to help minimize the massing of the building in this otherwise, it's tough aesthetic. It's an aesthetic challenge as the town has no design guidelines, and there's a myriad of aesthetics. Braintree Manor. There's an apartment building here, 30 unit multifamily. The donkeys, the tree, so the aesthetic choices were. Try to be as neutral as possible while diminishing the top floor and the central entry piece as possible.
Are there questions or for clarification on the presentation from the board? Thank you. Is there anything other part of your presentation you'd like to make?
We're okay. You want to say something? Yeah, Brad McKenzie will say a few things about the environmental remediation. Thank you.
Good evening. For the record, Brad McKenzie, McKenzie Engineering Group. We're the civil engineers and land surveyors for the project. I'll try not to be redundant, as my predecessors have talked about the substantial environmental benefits that would be realized with the implementation of this project. As they mentioned, there are some very sensitive wetland resources that extend from the Manattaquet River, including the 200-foot riverfront area, bordering vegetated wetland, and bordering lands subject to flooding resource areas. Bordering lands subject to flooding is essentially the FEMA Zone A. In this case, it's the land that extends up to elevation 101.5. If you look on the drawings, you can see in the existing condition where that line is and how it's going to change in the proposed condition. As they mentioned, the site, portions of the site, particularly areas within the 25-foot no disturb zone, which is regulated by your wetland bylaw and regulations, and the BVW as well, have been severely degraded because of the ongoing industrial operations at the site. There are pools of chlorine that are located essentially only a few feet from the wetland line that obviously aren't not an ideal situation from an environmental standpoint. As Mr. Young indicated, all of these structures, 5 structures plus the pools, will be eliminated in connection with the implementation of the project. In the current condition, there are absolutely no stormwater controls on the site. So all the stormwater runoff essentially sheet flows from impervious surfaces and degraded ground cover towards the bordering vegetated wetland and the Manattaquet River. No treatment, no water quality treatment, no attenuation of peak rates of runoff. So not a good situation. The proposed condition, this project will comply with all of the standards of your local, of the Braintree Wetlands Ordinance regulations, Mass DEP stormwater regulations, which mandate that the best management practices for stormwater design attenuate peak rates of runoff up to and including the 100-year storm event, and renovate the stormwater runoff as well. So as Mr. Young mentioned, the design would incorporate bio retention swales, some rain gardens, some subsurface stormwater infiltration facilities to encourage recharge of treated stormwater back into the groundwater table. Again, a vast improvement over existing conditions. He mentioned floodplain mitigation. What's required under the Wetlands Protection Act for the bordering land subject to flooding resource is that the project cannot result in a net loss of floodplain storage in 1-foot increments up to the 100-year floodplain elevation. So this project, on one of the sheets, I think it's C2, provides a table, even at this very preliminary stage, provides a table showing detailed calculations of the existing floodplain volumes compared to the proposed floodplain volumes in 1-foot increments. And you can see in the table that the project, as it's currently designed would provide an additional 10,000 cubic feet of floodplain storage. So again, a benefit over existing conditions. As he mentioned, we will be engaging a professional wetlands scientist to assist us in preparing a wetlands restoration plan, which would include removal of invasive species, incorporating native species within the bordering vegetated wetland, as well as fully restoring the 25-foot no disturb buffer that is protected under your wetland bylaw. So essentially, in summary, the site the development of the site from an environmental standpoint will be a vast improvement over its existing conditions. Thanks.
Any more presentation by the applicant? No? Okay.
That's all. I'm going to take these down so we can see the board. Thank you.
I would be interested in seeing the shadow study. You said you had that available tonight?
I do.
I'd be interested in seeing that.
Yeah. Should I present that now?
Sure.
Those are 11 by 17, so that approval will bring them up to the. So there was a shadow study circulated by a neighbor, and that did not consider the substantial grade changes on the site. So I have entered the entire neighborhood into a 3D modeling software, and as mentioned, I have two examples here. I will bring these closer. We have the first board. This is winter solstice at 8 a.m., and this is showing the shadows of the building. Second example will be winter solstice at noon, showing the status of the building. Flip that same board over. This will show winter solstice at sunset, essentially 3:30 p.m. there. So that's the first set of boards. Call that the winter ones. The second set of studies, summer solstice, 6:30 a.m. You can see the shadow is essentially directly east. All these are oriented, by the way. Page north would be north, etc. Summer solstice at noon. The sun is essentially right above. And then sunset, summer solstice at 6 p.m. The sun is setting northwest and creating a shadow across Washington Street. So I'll bring these up. Happy to answer any questions about them.
You can show them to Member Kavanaugh. He's got them labeled on there too, so you can see which is which. This pretty much stays on site. Which is summer solstice. Are you using the LED or stretch codes or anything with this design?
Right. So I believe stretch code is I believe it's code in Braintree.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we will be using that. Short answer is no fossil fuels, heat pumps. Again, we're doing solar on the roof and local materials as much as possible, along with close-cell insulation.
Okay. So I think we can open it for public comment. I would like to mention that we did get, as I said earlier, about 30, 40 letters, both support and opposed. And they did seem to have some themes, you know, around density, parking, fitting in with the area character and some variety of environmental impacts. Then there were also issues raised which are, around traffic, taxes, a burden on community services. Those things are not really under our jurisdiction. And since we are limiting people to 2 minutes, I would suggest that you try and stick your comments to the ones that we can consider, within our jurisdiction. So again, please come up, state your name, your address. We do have a timer here. And I would also like to remind people, it's not appropriate in this forum for cheering or clapping or hooting and hollering, and we're just going to ask you to leave or call the police. Just want to hear what you have to say. You all want to treat each other with respect. Thank you. So who would like to start?
Good evening. My name is Valene Weeks. I live at 1265 Washington Street. I've lived there for the last 32 years. I am also head of the Dyer Hill Civic Association, representing about 150 families from Jefferson Street, Shepherd Road, Old Washington, and other surrounding streets. On July 21st, I submitted a letter of opposition from our organization, and I also sent in copies of some of the prior letters that were submitted by residents. Right now, neighborhoods throughout Braintree are being destroyed with excessive apartment proposals and construction, and thoughtful integration of these proposals into the neighboring areas need to take priority. Braintree's master plan's priority is supposed to be to protect our residential neighborhoods from encroaching development, and it must be followed to protect residents with buffer zones, protections, and mitigation for the adjacent neighborhoods. Braintree residents have loudly voiced their opposition to this project, and we are not being listened to and not being represented by our town councilors who we elected. The developer has made no changes to the size, appearance, and available parking that the prior ZBA members had suggested that they do. The Dyer Hill, South Braintree area right now has 32 apartments currently being built on Hancock Street. The Dalton excessive 59 units, which is zoned for 27 units. The 752 units slated for the Armstrong property will just further cripple our area with gridlock during most commuting times. When turning onto Jefferson Street from Washington Street, the 5 homes on the left, they're going to have a 49-foot warehouse-style building 15 feet from their backyard. This will completely block out any sunlight from their property. I don't care what shadow drawings that were provided. You can't tell me that a 49-foot building in your backyard isn't going to block out your light. The neighbors have commented they are not opposed to legal action should this project proceed. This project is not, as is not compatible with the surrounding neighborhood and will devalue many of the residents' homes. Why should a developer's profit take priority over residents' greatest investment of their home and a Braintree's resident to bear the burden of loss of their investment? This project is 3 times the density it is zoned for. A project of 27 townhomes would be better suited for this area. Not an imposing building design that is better suited for Brookline and Boston, and not a town like Braintree. This project does not follow the letter of the law that was referenced earlier when a woman's garage was rejected for a variance, and this project is seeking 4 variances. And the Dyer Hill Association members and neighbors request that the zoning board reject this proposal in its current form. Thank you.
Come on. Actually, maybe you want to move up, and that way you can kind of make your own kind of cue.
Good evening, members of the board, staff, Attorney Murray. My name is Stephen Cowell, former chairman of the zoning board. I was on the zoning board for a total of 53 years. The other members of my board, we had an aggregate of close to 100 years of experience dealing with zoning. When this matter came to our board initially, it came with 63 units. We felt that at that time, it was too large for the area, requesting 4 variances, which is a very tough criteria to meet. We asked them to go back and redraw their plans and reduce the size of the project. We were hoping they would come in to about 27 or 30 or maybe even 35 units. But they did go back and came back with 59 units. They reduced that by 4 units, which to me was an insult to our board. And our board, we had 5 members. Not one member of the board, being the 3 sitting members or the 2 alternates, were in favor of the petition as it was presented. Someone mentioned that it's not more detrimental to the area. Well, I suggest to you that taken as a whole, it is more detrimental to the area. I would also suggest that if you intend to take a view of the site, that you take a view and go up there about 4:30 in the evening to look at the site. And then you can tell me if you don't think that what is presented will be more detrimental to the area. I know traffic is not an issue, but I go up there about 4:30 and you tell me if you don't think it's a consideration. "27 units are allowed. This is at double the amount with 4 variances. I was not going to speak, but I felt so strongly about this project that I had to come up and voice my opinion as to the prior board's feeling about this project. If they were 27 or 30 units, or maybe even 35, we could have lived with that, but not the way it's presented. The variances requested are substantial and, in my opinion, enormous. When they talk about parking, and it's going to be under 1.53 spaces per unit. Have you ever seen 0.53 of a car? I can't hear you. I still can't hear you.
I don't know why you can't. Oh, there we go. I think your 2 minutes have expired, and
I would ask that you allow me more time, because I have a good history with this project, and I think you ought to hear it.
I'll allow 2 more minutes then. Thank you, but we hear you.
We asked them to come back with a smaller amount of units. And the reason I was told is they couldn't reduce it was because they couldn't recoup their financial investment. Well, if they came in with a smaller project, the construction costs would go down, and they may be able to afford their investment. However, it is my understanding that they paid too much for the property, and therefore they have to have this number of units in order to get their money back. They're nice people, don't get me wrong. They were nice people then, they're nice people now. Does this project belong where it's going? Every parcel of property stands on its own. And to quote a very famous lawyer in the O.J. Simpson trial, Johnny Cochran, when he held up the glove, he said, if it doesn't fit, you must acquit. Well, this project does not fit, so you should not vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carl.
Hello, my name is Joseph Weeks, 1265 Washington Street. Reason why I'm standing here is, again, I am completely opposed to this project going into our neighborhood. Welcome, new zoning board. I'm kind of insulted over the fact that the old one had to resign pretty much over this project. As far as the project is concerned, I live in the neighborhood now for close to 35 years. Whatever drawings you have about sunrises and sunsets are absolutely asinine. These people that live on that street will lose access to the sunrise that they've been used to every morning for the last 30 years that they've been living there. You also have to realize that these people are now going to have a 50-story building right in their backyard. 700 square foot units, or I believe 650 square foot units. These people are going to be bored out of their mind, doing nothing more than staring out their window, looking directly into these four homes' second floor bedroom windows. They're going to have nothing else to do but stare out and stare across. The people who have these backyards are now no longer going to be able to use these backyards with the privacy that they've always had. And I want every one of you to think about this for a minute, that if this gentleman came, or would even this gentleman want this in his backyard, so that his kids couldn't sit out in the yard and enjoy the sun or swim in their pool or whatever they want to do. How would you all feel about having your children watched or stared at daily because people have nothing better to do? This building is literally 60 feet away from their bedroom windows, 10 feet away from their backyards. They will be able to look down into every one of your yards, into every one of your windows, and see everything that you're doing. And you also got to look at the fact that these people are also going to lose property value. Think about this for a second. You've got 5 houses, whatever they may be. You want to sell them. Now you got this problem behind you. Yet you got 3 other houses like them in the neighborhood, or even in a different neighborhood. Which one's going to fetch more money?
I think your time.
I have time to talk. Which one's going to fetch more money? And if you were all in this same situation, how would you feel about it? And again, I would like to say one more thing. This guy's doing a great job talking about how he's going to conserve the water, he's going to stop the floods. That's wonderful. And he's also talking about how he's going to have, energy-saving appliances in his apartments. Again, that's wonderful. But 59 energy-saving appliances is 3 times what you should have in there. So the energy impact is still high. The number of cars he's going to have in the driveway leaking oil, spilling fuel, that he's talking about a couple of chlorine tanks might be causing some pollution. What do you think that's going to happen?
Thank you.
And again, in the end,
time.
this gentleman will
Thank
probably
you.
sell the building to somebody else that doesn't even live in the state, and we're going to be stuck in our neighborhood dealing with the sirens, dealing with the fire department coming down in the middle of the night. And again, how would you like that if that
Thank you
happened to
very
you?
much. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Welcome to the new board. I'll keep it nice and quick since it's your first meeting. But my name is Pat Mulcairn. I live at 12 Ellery Street. I stand in opposition of this zoning passing based first off on the stories. We'll talk about stories. I mean, they want to add a story so they can fit their parking into their site. I don't see how that would be fair when somebody comes in and wants to add a little bit onto their house to add storage, for their car. It's not 50 cars. The traffic, you can say it's not a zoning board issue, but maybe it should be. I agree with former Chairman Carl. Take a trip up there at 4:30 in the afternoon. Try getting to your kid's baseball game on time. I think it's a travesty if you want to put something the size of the Green Monster right behind someone's houses and say it fits in the neighborhood. And I think it's spitting in the neighborhood's face. I can't remember who mentioned it earlier, but whoever did mention litigation of some sort, please try and chat up after the meeting.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Joe Holland. I live at 180 Tremont Street in Braintree. I'd like to voice my support for this project. I think the design is a thoughtful design. The fact that when it sits on the road, it's reading as a 3-story building, I think is very thoughtful. There were some questions as far as the garage under. I just think it's really, really well done. I think the increase in revenue to the town that's desperately needed is very important. This is very consistent with what the board has approved on other ZBA cases as far as density. It works. I know there's some noisy opposition here, but this project I think works for the town, and I really strongly recommend that the board be brave on this one. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Rob Kadire, 306 Washington Street. I'm here in opposition to this project. As with the last time, this thing looks like somebody photoshopped something out of the seaport and plopped it in the middle of that neighborhood over there. It's non-conforming, looks horribly out of place, and as the independent study conducted months ago, this thing will block the sun essentially all day or in December for the neighbors abutting it. It's as if one of your neighbors, as one of the previous speakers said, decide to build a 1-to-1 scale green monster in the backyard. In fact, it's even bigger than that. The green monster is 37 feet. This is 47 feet. That's the green monster plus the old screen that they used to have on top of it. It's like the applicant is trying to cram as much into this small lot as possible. The zoning, he's seeking a 71% reduction in the number of in the amount of open space, a 75% reduction in the total number of square footage used needed for 59 units. Many residents in this town, and a huge majority of those who I've spoken with, have voiced concern that the current administration doesn't care for their concerns, rather only caters to developers from out of town. Case in point that this project has revived its ugly head once again. For the residents, their homes are their largest single investment. Developments such as this put those futures in jeopardy. Even if this is just one Braintree resident whose property will be affected by it, why should their property in their future be negatively impacted to placate some developer? Speaking of benefits, the developer will get his profit, and if this is pushed through, he's going to make a killing on it from that small lot. The rest of us, we're going to be dealing with increased traffic, higher costs, more school enrollment, generally more costs, more town expenses, bringing in more mouths to feed while we're digging out of... Can I request 1 more minute?
No, I think we need to, we have your comments, we have letters, I think we have your message.
Okay, I'll cut to the point. Who are you going to stand with at the end of this? The residents of the Dyer Hill and the residents of Braintree at large, or the wealthy developer from out of town? You just denied a garage expansion for a private residence and denied a deck for another private residence. This thing does not fit the neighborhood. It is not harmonizing. This thing needs to be shut down.
Thank you.
Good morning, good evening. Steve Green, 161 Jefferson Street. First, I'm opposed to the project.
Could you speak more into the mic?
Yep, I'm opposed to the project right off the bat. There's like so many reasons why. I want to bring up the first one is parking. They said that's 1.5 spots, 90 spots for 59 units. They don't anticipate, the last time I was here, said, oh, we don't think everyone's going to have cars. I mean, that's a bunch of baloney. I grew up in this city. Everybody has a car. Everybody has 2 cars. The last time they told us they had no plans for any kind of guest parking. So I live on Jefferson Street. So that means if anyone has guests coming on the weekends and everyone has their car parked, what are they going to do? They're going to impact the neighborhood. They're going to park over in Jefferson Street. No guest parking. Everybody has someone come over at some point. I love that they bring up that, well, in Watertown and in Quincy, they only allow one parking spot for a project like this. Well, I don't live in Watertown and I don't live in Quincy. I live in Braintree. You know what? Hingham, it's probably 3 spots. You didn't bring up what they do where he lives in Hingham. They don't bring up the things that's relative to us. It's always somewhere else. Also, it's already been mentioned, but I talked about a variance for, someone came in, they wanted to convert a garage from a shed, and he said, no, we're not going to do that. But they're saying, oh, poor us. We only want to put 50 parking spots and just have a slight variance of a 4th story. Well, one shed's not good, but 50 parking spots, well, one full story is good. It just doesn't fit. The density, the density portion of it, there's a reason why the zoning board put that regulation in there. It's to prevent monstrosities like this. You know, I just find it's interesting that you had a second look at that 73 Beachwood because there's a deck that's going to abut the next door neighbor. That's a problem, that a deck is abutting it. But nobody cares that a 40-foot wall is going to be 10 feet from the back of someone's house. I mean, which is worse, the deck or the wall?
Thank you.
I'll be 30 seconds. So it appears, and this is no deference to this, but the last zoning board was removed or resigned. You know, and the mayor's been playing politics because there's problems going to be with schools, with people bringing in. She wanted to close down schools with the last one. You know, just as an aside, you know, the mayor has to realize that she wants to play politics with our neighborhood. We all vote, and she's going to have to remember that.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Hello, my name is Patricia Bogan.
Could you speak into the mic? I'm having trouble.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
My name is Patricia Bogan, and I have a family that lives in Braintree right on Shepherd and the corner of Shepherd and Jefferson. I'm going to speak to the safety of the children. There are many young children in that area. They go to Dyer Hill, they walk there, they ride their bikes up and down. As it stands now, there's cut-through traffic. There's going to be a lot more, not only the residents' traffic, but the supply trucks, commercial trucks. It's going to be going down right into that area where there's children. And I think that it's prone to have an accident. I would like them to still have the security and the safety of using that area. I know that the parents will be very concerned. I just don't feel that that should fit into a residential area such as that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Justine Huang, 25 Lakeside Drive. Today, when I left the town hall at 8:45, I thought I would hit over there to take a look, and I discovered another new Bermuda Triangle. If you're looking at Jefferson and Shipper Road, in between the golf course and anything after 5 or 6 houses of Shipper Road and Jefferson, you will see a huge water container behind their houses, just like we saw how New Orleans was flooded before. So I have so many questions during the lawyer's presentation and Mr. Stephen Young's presentation. He talks about traffic is not a zoning issue. Shadow is not a ZBA issue. Building height is not a ZBA issue. Flooding is not a ZBA issue. And as part of the previous master plan community, I know we're striving to have a smart building and small growth for Braintree. We welcome growth. But if you're looking at all this is not a zoning issue, why are they here today? Why are they asking for variance? ZBA's job is protecting, is part of the town's office, is protect the residents, protect our community, and protect the way of how we've been built smartly. Not everything do not belong to ZBA's issues. Another question I want to build up is the lawyer was talking about. There is no public resource being used for 59 unit. There's no addition to school for 59 unit. Braintree is a 25% student residence for kids under 18 or younger. Tell me that no family moving there. I sure hope that's a 55+ unit retirement home. So therefore, I'm asking for the board to reconsider all those questions that they presented. Is it what Braintree is about? And I just want to ask you to drive out there and take a look at the new Bermuda Triangle behind those houses. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Laura Valentine, and I've said this before. I'm opposed to the project. Oh, sorry. And just a few things that stuck out to me tonight were sort of the statement about this being a traffic neutral situation. I just kind of disagree with that or don't understand the reasoning behind that. And because even prior to saying that, they toted additional traffic being a good thing for the businesses. So, which is it? In my opinion, it's going to be more traffic. You're going to cram 50+ units into that space, then I think it's going to result in more traffic. So that was one of my concerns. And then the other, note about the hardship, something else I don't quite understand. The hardship is not being able to build more units, and we're getting and being requested a variance for that doesn't quite fit what why are we considering this a hardship for the builder? It's and are we going to have to pay as residents of that neighborhood so to relieve his hardship? So I find that another reason why I'm not in favor of the project. Yeah, I mean, and other than that, I'd say one last thing. I don't feel partnered with, that was sort of mentioned as part of the presentation. I would feel more so partnered with if there was some sort of reduction or some sort of compromise. I'm not seeing it. So again, I was hopeful when, it was back in April when the proposal was withdrawn that, we'd come here tonight with something that was a little bit more of a compromise that took the neighborhood into consideration more so. So anyway, so unfortunately that doesn't seem to be the case. So I'm, just wanted to again stand up and, say that I'm opposed to the proposal as it stands now. Anyway, so thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good evening. Sean Powers, 380 Hancock Street, former counselor at large. Had the honor to serve as council president for 2 years. For the information of the board, the school committee allows speakers 3 minutes to speak. The town council allows 5 minutes. That is enforced at the discretion of the council president. The planning board doesn't set a limit on public speakers. And I just asked former chair Steve Carl if he ever placed a limit on speakers. He said no. That's for the board's information. So I've spoken to many of the neighbors, folks who live right next to this project, folks who live down the street. The word that kept coming up was reasonable. Reasonable. We're looking for a reasonable project. No one is against the site being redeveloped. They're looking for a reasonable project. And I thought we were going to get a reasonable project that was reworked. But unfortunately, we just got where they left off and they reintroduced it. It's not reasonable. I hope the board continues to do its due diligence. The gentleman was denied a variance for 4 inches for his deck, so I hope that you continue that due diligence. The master plan, which hundreds, if not thousands of people wanted to see updated, its main focus from the survey of residents was to protect residential neighborhoods while balancing development in this community. It was a highly engaged, highly responsive survey, and that's what the residents wanted. So I hope that the board will continue to follow the recommendations of the master plan, although some people want to disregard it, to protect the residential neighborhoods. Okay, 5 seconds? Okay, well, I'm done. Thank you very much. I yield back.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wants to speak?
But of course. Sorry, I didn't mean to be rude in any way. I'm not used to being told how I should speak or where. I grew up in the city of Somerville on Winter Hill. John G. Higgins, 1217 Washington Street. I won't be able to see the sun anymore. I leave my house most mornings at 5:30, 6 a.m. to get to work in Boston because of the traffic on the expressway, which I like to get home at 3. I know this isn't a zoning board thing. I like to leave my work at 3. Sometimes the Southeast Expressway takes me 45 minutes to an hour at that time. Sometimes from Archie's, the old section of Braintree where I used to live, where I brought my children to grow up here, where they went to school, where they've been in sports, where I coached, where I've been friends with police, fire, everybody. Not that that matters. I love this town. It takes me almost as long to get from Archie's to my house. My yard is definitely one that's going to be affected. But the other thing that the councilman brought up, sorry, like I said, I'm not that educated. I'm just a technician that's been at a company for 40 years. I also majored in architecture and drafting. We did have one of our residents design a plan of how this is going to ruin our neighborhood. That council's gone, or that board's gone, for unforeseen reasons. Plain and simple. The only ones that are going to benefit from this project are the people racking in the money. There's nothing coming to us. There's nothing coming to this town. Well, wait a minute, there's taxes. So far, in all the years I've been here, I've never seen as much trouble that's coming to this town because we're going too fast. Every single development that goes up, we're supposed to required, not required, but authorized or suggested by the state. New police, new fire. Let me ask you this, sir, and please say this in front of everybody here. How come the developer, the lawyer, and all those people had unlimited time to speak, but every resident, including the councilman, including the board member that used to be on your panel, we only have 2 minutes? Why? Please explain it to me. Please explain it in public, on camera, with all these witnesses. Why the people that are coming here to take over our town that don't care, because they don't live here, they're just trying to make money. Why do they have unlimited, but we have 2 minutes?
We wanted to make sure, your question should be directed to the chair. Thank you.
Like I said, I'm not that very much educated.
It's all right. There's not that many of us here up front here. We want to make sure everybody had time to speak, and we have a lot of letters, so we do know a lot of what you are saying, I think, so that was the reason. We wanted it to be reasonable for everyone, not to be so late that some people couldn't stay, and that
It was already pretty late, and I did
that's our reasoning.
keep time of how
Do you
long
wanna-
these people
why
were
don't
talking.
I'd be happy to hear your comment.
I'm sorry?
Why don't you wrap up your comment about the project? That would be helpful.
Okay, in no way, in any way is this going to benefit our neighborhood. There are cars speeding down our street. My children are grown now, and I have to tell people to slow down. We had to contact certain councilmen to ask them to do something about this. Not a zoning board issue. This isn't going to help it. Second of all, during the holidays, during graduations, all normal stuff, I can barely get down my street with my neighbors that have a right to have company come over. That's going to clog our street. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I just want to say one more thing. I'm sorry that the residents aren't as important as developers.
That's a misunderstanding.
That's how it seems. 2 minutes. Goodbye.
I'll be trying to be brief and not reiterate everything that my neighbors have said today. My name is Kim Hulk. I live at 175 Jefferson Street in the Dyer Hill neighborhood. I am here tonight to express my continued strong opposition to the Dalton project. What is being presented tonight is essentially the same oversized proposal we saw this past winter. 59 units crammed into a lot that simply cannot handle that kind of density. Let's be clear, nothing meaningful has changed since the last board saw this proposal. It's important to note that while you guys are a completely different zoning board, one important thing needs to be mentioned. The last zoning board gave the developer one piece of advice: do better. And I think everyone behind me today will agree that what we have seen presented tonight is not anything better than what we saw. 59 units, the exact same thing. So to quote Mr. Carl, do better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Paula Connolly, and I live on 79 Shepherd Road, abutting the Dalton water property as it is today. I think that it's actually brave of you to not approve this project. I'm in strong opposition. I think that it is not about development, but it is about appropriate development. I'm not going to reiterate everything everyone has said that I agree with. But the conservation benefits to the property would be great because the town has allowed the existing Dalton Water Company to actually abuse the property. So that would be great, but that is not a reason to approve the property as it is currently proposed. I think any responsible developer or business person should do that. I think that it's a shame what's happened to that area and the waterway. The river is constantly flooded. It is disgusting. We live it, we see it, but I don't think that's great that it's a benefit, but that's not a reason to approve it. Parking, I'm concerned about the impact of parking on the neighborhood. What happens when it reaches 80%? There's no parking for guests. There's no place in the surrounding area. They're not going to be able to park in Dunkin' Donuts or in any of the other businesses' lots. They likely would not go all the way to Hancock Street to park. They're going to be parking in our neighborhood. Overnight, guests will be parking in our neighborhood, guests of the people that live there, and there is not enough parking. Okay, thanks. And lastly, I think that it's interesting the council didn't want other types of businesses there. The residents had no say in that, but I would much rather a daycare center than the proposed building as it is. So I think that your job is to do what's appropriate for zoning and do what's right for the residents. We live in the neighborhood. We love the neighborhood. We're not opposed to building in the neighborhood, but it has to be responsible.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Dominic Sung. I'm at 22 Jefferson. I'm at one of the several houses that directly abut Dalton. So obviously this development would affect directly me. I would see that immediately. So obviously I'm obviously in opposition. Thankfully, a lot of folks before have said a lot of the reasons, but I did want to maintain they did provide a really great presentation, talked about a lot of benefits. But remember, those benefits aren't the ones that are driving variances, right? That the resolution of the variances. You can make that the baseline for future developments, right? So whether any business comes in and proposes, another 50-unit or daycare, things like that, make that your standard, right? If that's really what is important to you. So don't let that dazzle you, for sure. But yeah, in general, I've been in Braintree for 15 plus years. I've lived in a condo, actually 1 minute walking away from my home, so I'm very familiar with condo developments and what it's like to live there. Obviously, one of my other concerns is that it's going to be a primarily rental property, so make sure that that is taken into account as well when you're talking about the impacts to the neighborhood. So that's all I have today, so thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Sheila Cochran. I live at 1258 Washington Street, part of Washington Street that runs parallel to Jefferson. The neighborhood refers to it as Old Washington Street, but it's technically Washington Street. I live directly across the street from Dyer Hill Park, that is in this neighborhood, as well as you are aware, the Braintree Golf Course is on Jefferson. I also operate a business at 17 Stores Avenue. I've watched this board very carefully tonight, and I actually appreciate the time you took with every petition, and I appreciated the insight you got from council and discussed with everybody what regulations that you need to follow. And I appreciate you taking that time because those are the duties you're charged with. And there's talk that flooding or traffic is not a zoning board principle. It's not something that you are enforced or involved with. But what you are charged with, and the standard for your finding is, shall not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. This project, as it has come before you, is substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. I agree, and I think that development is okay in this town, but not for 59 units. This developer comes before you asking for 4 separate variances, 4 of them. He wants to double the zoning that is permitted for that area. At the end of Washington Street by Ellery Street, we have signs directing that people can't come into the neighborhood during school hours. Why? Because of the children. Because of the children. We have a resident... 30 seconds, thank you. I ask that you deny the application as it stands, or at minimum, do what your prior board did. Tell the developer to go back. The size is too big. It's too big. 118 parking spots? Not enough. Not enough. And not for this neighborhood. And I will tell you, within a half a square mile of my neighborhood, we have 30 units going on Hancock Street. We have 753 units going into Armstrong. You do not need to compound this neighborhood. There's nothing we can do about those. They're done. Zoning board approved the 30 units, and the 753 are by right. But you have control over this application, and we asked you to do the right thing for the residents, the neighborhood, and set a precedent. You talked earlier about setting precedents. Please set a precedent with this board. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, could we wait and see if anybody else wants to speak who hasn't spoken first? Okay. Would you mind? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ron Walsh, 190 Jefferson Street. I've lived in Braintree since 1962 and on Jefferson Streets for 58 years since 66. I've seen changes going on through there, and this development is going to impact them even more negatively. We talked about traffic and parking and everything else. And what I suggested is to Steve to think about it, perhaps making it a model like Dell's Way on West Street in Braintree. I think there's 8 homes on a little over 2 acres, and I'm sure Mr. Young could do something like that with less negative impact on the neighborhood. That's one thing. And when I mentioned one time to one of the planning board members years ago that I don't think we really have a housing crisis in the town of Braintree. What we have is a people crisis in the state of Massachusetts and in the country in general. You can check and look at all the addresses of all the people that are applying for housing and so forth and find out that that may be more accurate than just hearsay. So, like I say, we don't have a housing crisis in the town like the state is saying we do. The state is imposing its will on us as well. You can see that through zoning changes, threats of court action if we don't comply with the MBTA Act. So these are just some things that are imposed on us as a small community, and we as residents in local areas, in different neighborhoods, feel the impact of that. And Jefferson Street neighborhood is really feeling it. When my kids were growing up, they were trying to drive out the end of Jefferson Street, and boom, they both got hit driving their cars. It's a little slower now because of the volume of traffic. It's really slow. And try to get out, okay? Now, people, when they start to enter that part of the neighborhood and they see Jefferson Street going south, they're going to take that as a cut-through. We've had impacts with traffic, trying to do traffic calming programs and measures. Many of us have been involved in that. We have one speed bump on Jefferson Street. And myself personally, I'm very grateful for that one speed bump. If there were more, the fire that my house just suffered this past October may have slowed down the fire department enough that my wife would never get out of the house. I don't know. Only God knows, and I'm thankful for that.
Thank you. I think, can you finish up, please? Thank you. That's good. Your 2 minutes are up. Do you mind finishing up your point and comments on the project?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Oh, could you finish up your points on the project? Your two minutes have expired, so
My
I'd
2
like
minutes
to make sure I
expired.
hear your final
Well,
points.
can I borrow some of Steve's? Anyway, I suggest Dell's Way on West Street is a good role model for
Okay.
you, Steve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Jan Barris. I own property at Hancock Avenue. I'm opposed to this. Basically, the largest reason right now is for the traffic. Hancock Avenue is a cut-through already, so if you're on Hancock Street and you don't want to go to the light, you take a right onto Hancock Avenue and you take a left onto Washington to try to beat the light, and it works both ways. I'm concerned about the traffic that this is going to generate. I know the zoning board that's not your purview, but it starts with the size of this development. I'm also concerned that the parking is very limited. So if people in this development, if it goes through as it is, have guests, they're going to park on Hancock Avenue. The street it's a two-way street, but you can only get one car. Two cars can't pass at the same time because it's so small. I also I own property on Hancock Ave, but I live on Franklin Street. The traffic from that intersection backs up beyond my house, backs up through the lights at the intersection of Hancock and Washington, where it goes into the square. It's a nightmare. You can't move during rush hour. The last point I want to point out is two of the parcels that the gentleman said they got zoning on was on Pearl Street. Those two apartments that were built aren't in a residential area. It's all industrial on Pearl Street, pretty much where those are. And I assume the other one is the Hancock Street is the one that's under construction now across from the lumberyard. Again, what's around it is all commercial. There's a little bit on Frederick Road, but there's still enough of a buffer there. So you really can't compare this development to those developments because the location doesn't impact residential. Thank you.
Thank you.
How you doing? I'm going to use 15 seconds of my time, and I'm going to donate the other minute and 45. I think you owe everyone here an apology.
Could you state your name?
Chuck Magner, live on Shepherd Road in Braintree.
Thank you.
As soon as the developer was done with his statement, the first thing you said to the people is there will be no cheering, and if it gets out of hand, we'll call the police. I think that's a little harsh to start. So I think you owe everyone an apology there. For the first thing you said to us was a threat. And I'm insulted by it, but I'm going to give my next minute and 30 seconds to him.
Thank you.
Again, Steve Carl, former chairman of the zoning board. I am not going to comment on anything, just procedurally. I know you have one of the best municipal lawyers sitting there. I've dealt with her for over 40 years, and she's terrific. Procedurally speaking, when our board resigned and the new petition was filed in May or June, I'm not sure, June, the clock started to tick, procedurally speaking, because you have 100 days to make a decision and 14 days to get it to the town clerk. So you have procedurally, the clock is ticking. Otherwise, it will be approved if you don't act. So I urge you, don't waste any time, make a decision so that either the Dyer Hill Association can appeal your decision, or if you reject it, that's the end of it for 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? We have one more person, at least.
Hello, my name's Robert Tomer. I live down the street. I live in Central Ave. I know you're all new. This shouldn't have come here. These people all spoke. They said they don't want it. Somebody in town government has to consider our point of view, and they're not doing it now. This administration is ignoring the townspeople. Everybody that lives in this town, that's lived here for their whole life like I have, we all have a story to tell, and no one's listening to us. Why is that? You know why? The mayor's not from the town. She owns everyone, and you all are doing what she asks. It's wrong. There's no bias. You can time me. You can tell me to stop. But you're not listening to the people that live in Braintree, that are from Braintree, that don't want the town changed because someone came up with this foolish idea that we need to build here. We can't support the infrastructure that exists now. How the hell are we going to do it with more building? And this thing right here, these poor people, you crushed the people at Lakeside Drive. You're going to crush these people, and you're going to keep going forward because you people are not going to say no. Why should you? Why should you? That's what she wants, and you're going to give it to her.
Anybody else? The proponent wants to say something. Should we allow you to come up and comment? Okay. 2 minutes.
Happy to take 2 minutes, thank you. Just one, in closing, one reminder that this district is general business. As of right, a future applicant can put a 50-foot tall building 10 feet away from the Jefferson Street homes. I am 15 feet away, 50% more, and we're at 37.5 feet. The traffic, in the file, there's a traffic report by Jeffrey Dirk, and of all the allowed uses in general business, this creates the least amount of traffic to the town. I have a tremendous respect for former Chairman Carl, and I just would like to remind the board, four of the density variances his board approved were 32, 34 and a half, 30 units, and 37.6 units per acre. We're requesting 31, I believe it is. And that's all I have. Thank you for your tall task tonight, and thank you for the new board. This is a lot to get your feet wet on. Thank you.
Justine, you've already been up twice tonight. One question, and then that's it. Go to the microphone and
I just
introduce
want to have
yourself
one
again.
question. I'm Justine Huang, 25 Lakeside Drive. The developer had indicated that, I might be wrong, but I want to verify, indicate that the change from 4 EV charger to 33. Is it right?
Could the proponent answer the question? You're saying 4 EV chargers were changed to, what was the number?
33?
33. How many EV chargers are you putting in?
Over 30. There's new technology that allows smart panels to not be physically connected, so it's over 30 now.
Okay, so what the proponent said, confirm that it has been increased to over 30 EV chargers because of new technology.
I just wonder, is that a commercially business versus for residential, is there a charge for it? And also, when you talk about parking space assigned to resident based on the lease, is there also a cost associated for each lease for selling those parking spaces?
Let me just say, we're not, thank you. At this point, we're not getting into rents and things like that, but thank you. Well, we've heard a lot. I want to thank everybody again for coming out and being polite and respecting everybody else. I think at this point, it's time to close the public hearing. I'm looking at council to see if I'm missing a procedure.
Well, Madam Chair, maybe before you close the public hearing, you consider, whether the board is ready to make a decision tonight, whether the board needs some more information, whether, a site visit is necessary or whatever you happen to need. You do have 100 days from the day that the application was filed on May 14th to actually vote your decision, and then there are 14 days from there that we have to put a written decision together and get it filed with the town clerk.
Well, if we want to do a site visit, I thought that was separate from the public hearing.
No, that's true, but normally you'd have a site visit and then you'd come back, have a further meeting where the board might discuss maybe some observations that were made at the site meeting.
Right.
Maybe there's something that sparks a question that the board would like to ask the developer to maybe revisit something in their design.
That's part of our deliberation. Is that also part of the public hearing? I'm confused about
what
continuing the.
What I'm suggesting is the moment you close this public hearing, there is no more hearing from the public, but there is also no more hearing from the applicant either.
Oh, okay.
So if you decide you want a site visit, or if you think that there might be some additional information that the board wants to consider or receive into the record, then you would keep the hearing open and continue to another date.
Okay, thank you. That's what I was trying.
Sure.
So.
For the evening, so that we can ask some questions of the applicant based on feedback we've heard from the public this evening, I think is the direction we might be moving in, or no?
Again, if you close the public hearing tonight, you are closing down the hearing.
I understand
We
that,
can't accept additional, so I think we want to, well, first of all, let me.
Madam Chair, I have a question for council.
Okay. Member Kavanaugh?
I'm sorry?
Can you clarify what date we're working on in terms of the 100 days?
We've been kind of scribbling this down here between us, so August 22nd. We're coming up with August 22nd.
August 22nd if we close. Is that what you're saying?
That doesn't make any sense, though, because you have June and July. You had 17, so it's 78 days.
Let me
So
ask
you'd be into-
you, while they're
Yeah, it'd have to be
contemplating
into
this,
September.
do you want a site visit?
3069.
I would like a site visit because contrary to what people have been saying, we haven't made a decision yet, and I think that would aid us in making a decision.
What about you, Member Perez?
I agree, but I also want to ask the developers a couple questions.
What's first, the developer or we deal with? Okay, give us a minute. Okay, but thank you for.
I have a question. Can I ask a question of
Member Kevin, ask your question?
of the developer?
Oh,
I think that's what we're waiting for the date.
he suggested we wait till they figure out what schedule we're working on, but there are some questions for you. So we have questions for the developer, and we want to discuss a site visit. So what comes first?
Do you want to ask the questions of the developer tonight? You can certainly do that, or wait till have your site visit
Do you want to wait till the site
and
visit? I'm gonna
continue
wait.
the public
We can do
hearing.
both anyway, right? We can ask today,
Yeah.
and then after the site visit.
I'm sorry?
If he wants to, we can ask questions today and after.
Oh,
the site visit.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You can do
Yeah.
both.
All right.
Well, we might, yes.
What do you want to do? You want to ask the questions now? Angela?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
All right. Member Perez?
So I got a couple questions, and the first I'd like to ask is, during the first meeting back in May, you guys to reduce the units, and you guys reduced it to 3. Since that period, I'm just like wondering, have you considered shifting from the apartment rentals to maybe doing development of an own condominium model, townhouse style, that will probably fit more of the neighborhood, reduce the height, and take care of some of the issues with the shadowing?
Right.
That
So,
is a concern to pretty much everybody in the area?
right. So, like I said, the building varies in height from 37.5 feet to 46 feet, and it's a 50-foot district. So, to make it shorter, despite it being allowed that tall, has not been a consideration. It started at 49 feet. I brought it down to 46 feet. And regarding height, that is about as low as I can go. Again, 50 feet on 10 feet on a property line is allowed as of right. I've not considered an ownership model that for development reasons. I'm looking forward to living in, within miles of here in Hingham, looking forward to keeping this property and standing behind the property.
Okay.
So at this point, I plan on keeping it to be
So
rentals.
townhouse has never been considered the townhouse model? Pretty much?
I haven't looked at a townhouse model that would have significant different financial implications regarding site prep and foundations and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Are there other questions that the board would like to ask now? Member?
A couple of questions of Attorney Kavanaugh, I think, might be more appropriate to answer.
Sure,
if that's
of course.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Kavanaugh, we heard a lot tonight about parking, concerns around parking, and I walked into this meeting sharing some concerns about parking as well. You stated that parking would be figured out through the leasing process, right, as people are renting the units.
Right.
I take that to mean that there'll be assigned parking as people will be...
That's the intent, yeah. So
Could
then-
you walk me through that?
Right, so parking wouldn't, it wouldn't be like you rent an apartment here, bring whatever cars you want, right? It's like, okay, how many cars do you have? This is how many cars you're allowed. You get one, sticker for your unit or whatnot, submit the registration, just like they do in a lot of other communities, but parking would be regulated through the leasing office, yes.
Is it fair to assume 2-bedroom units get 2 parking spaces, 1-bedroom unit gets 1 parking space?
Yeah, or I mean, there might be some units that just say we don't even need parking, you know, or whether that goes somewhere else or that becomes a visitor spot, you know.
Yeah.
Some of those 1-bedroom units that,
do they get a,
notwithstanding the laughing, that's a reality.
Yeah. Do they get a break on their rent if they're saying they don't need a parking space, or you said they don't have to pay extra to lease the space?
I don't know, you know, I don't think that he's gotten that far with like the model of like how much it's going to cost if you rented something. He isn't that far down the road yet relative to that. But I know in part of his development, what he was with the parking was that he wanted to make sure that when it did come time for leasing, those parking spots would be accounted for. I mean, I think it's reasonable to suggest that if you had a 2-bedroom unit, you'd be more likely to get 2 parking spots than somebody with a 1-bedroom unit. You know, I think that's all reasonable.
Given the variance for parking, I think it would be helpful for us to understand how exactly you are going to be distributing parking, how that's going to be managed through the leasing process. So if I'm doing my math right, if it's 2 parking spaces for every 2-bedroom and 1 parking space for every 1-bed, it gives you about 10 guest spaces.
Right. So essentially every bedroom would have a parking spot with some left over, yeah.
Okay.
So those 2-bedroom units that would, you know, be more likely to have potentially 2 cars, you know, yeah. But they'd be allocated such that so that each unit, you know, had spots. And
okay. The other
that's one of the beauty of them owning it. You know, he can, with the leasing, they can manage that.
Sure. Appreciate that. The other question I had, so in the previous zoning board of appeals meeting before you guys withdrew and resubmitted, the board did ask you to go back, look at the financial pro forma, try to understand if you could come down lower than the 59 units that you came back with. I'm curious, you obviously came back with an application that is similar, if not identical, to the one you brought forth previously. Have you done that analysis?
There's been, yeah, do you want to share that? I have. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he can talk to that. I think from a development standpoint and probably from, well, Steve, why don't you go through it?
Sure. It's a great question. The zoning code, zoning bylaws for the town focus on units with no mention of with little mention, I should say, of number of bedrooms. So the short answer is I can still make this project financially feasible and make it less units than I'm proposing tonight. So then the question goes, great, what does that look like? So I have those numbers. All of these result in the same amount of, without sharing financials, I'm happy to share this. All these result in the 99% same revenue, which dictates what's called the debt service coverage ratio. That's if a lender will lend money on it. If it makes enough money, they will lend. If it doesn't make enough money, they won't. That ratio I'm working with is an industry standard of 1.25. So tonight I'm proposing 59 units with 35 1-bedrooms and 24 2-bedrooms. I'm going to just describe unit counts and breakdowns now that all achieve the same financials to enable this project to pencil, okay? 56 units, 21 beds, and 36 2-beds. You'll see a trend here. 55 units, 14 1-beds, 40 2-beds. 54 units, 12 1-beds, 42 2-beds. 52 units, 0 1-beds, 52 2-beds. 45 units, which would not require a parking variance, would be 45 3-bedroom units. All of those achieved.
Sorry, can you repeat that last one? How many?
Sure.
Total units?
45 3-bedroom units would not require a parking variance. In my professional opinion, these substantially affect traffic. They substantially affect the school systems. These are all things that developers who will come after me would be able to do with this property. The Daltons are selling. I'm just and I don't define general business zoning. I'm just trying to stay within where reasonable. So hopefully that answers your question. This is related to your first question. Parking, right now we have 83 bedrooms currently proposed tonight. That's with the 59 units. So that would result in approximately 7 guest spots. But absolutely, the intent would be a one spot per bedroom. We're over that now.
Understand. One follow-up question.
Sure.
The other options, reducing the number of units, increasing the number of bedrooms. Obviously, you get down to the 45 three-bedroom units, you no longer need a parking variance. As you reduce the number of units, are other variances taken out of the equation? Are you reducing stories? Are you reducing density? Or would you still be seeking the other variances?
Good question. The other 3 besides parking remain the same.
Thank you.
And all of those scenarios do still require a parking variance, except for the final one being 45 units. For example, the 2-to-1 parking ratio.
Understand.
Is that it?
That's it from me for now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions for now?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Well, I think we would like to schedule a site visit. That would be just us. There would be no deliberation. Should we pick a date and a time, or should we let you work with us on a date and a time? And we need access, by the owner, so maybe they have to be involved, or...
Right.
Then if we do a site visit, it looks like we would need
An extension.
an extension that you would have to grant,
Right.
I don't know, in
Right.
writing.
Your 100 days is going to expire August 22nd. Your next regularly scheduled meeting is August 25th. So whatever you do tonight, if you continue it.
Can I ask one more question?
Oh, Member Perez would like to ask one more question.
Yeah, one last question. So based on your count, in order to quote unquote, make it profitable for you guys, cutting down the units to 45 3-bedrooms, even if we do a site visit and tell you, hey, come back with a revised plan to reduce the number of units, that's something that you don't think will be possible for you to do? Even if we were to extend it another 30, 60 days?
I mean, it's a little bit open-ended. I'm in this for the long haul. I don't want to mention the previous time I've been doing this, because we're a new board. We're taking a fresh look at it. So yeah. I'm very open to what would get all of us in this room to an approved project.
Because based on everything here, I do think that the project is too big. It definitely needs to be shrunk down a little bit. How much? It's up for debate. So, us doing a site visit could help, but I still think overall that the units definitely need to come down, in my opinion.
So what about, I would still like a site visit. I think others would too.
Sure.
That requires you to grant an extension.
The site visit would happen after the...
No.
Well, no. The site... Okay, why don't you come up? So I think what we're saying is that if we have the site visit, we would like to continue this to the next meeting, which would be August 28th, and that would be beyond our 100 days. So I think that's what I'm thinking, that we're trying to accommodate here. Staff? Recommendation?
I think, just to clarify, I think number one, we would schedule the site visit from between tonight and the next meeting on August 25th. 100 days expires on the 22nd, so we're looking for extension, not to have a special meeting, but to host to continue the public hearing to the next ZBA meeting, regular scheduled ZBA meeting on the 25th. And then in that time period, we would host and/or you would host, from the Dalton point of view, a site visit to this site. Now, we could talk about a date and a time that that site visit could occur, and obviously we would post that agenda, but that would happen between now and August 25th. But still, an extension would have to be required just to cover those 3 days theoretically.
Sounds like we're talking about a 4 or 5 day extension.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
You'd also have to post the site visit as an open meeting, this one and the previous.
Thank you, Mr. Cal.
Could you go to the mic so we can hear you? Go to.
If the extension isn't approved, does this mean that the way that the project is presented would pass? That's
No.
what I kind of heard.
No, it means that we.
The way you explained it before.
I think what it means is that we would have to make a decision without a site visit. We'd have to make the decision tonight.
Tonight, without a
Or
site
we'd have to
visit.
have a special meeting or something. No.
But that decision's not made this evening?
We don't want to, I don't want to make the decision this evening.
You don't want to, okay. And you don't want to run out on your 100 days? So if we do a site visit and he approves an extension, then this continues? Okay, so
Am I
it's still up
correct
for
there?
discussion? Yeah, we're good for that.
So what do we have to do? Do we have to make a motion to continue? Does the applicant have to?
I would first suggest, are you going to continue it to your next, you do have to vote to continue the hearing to a date certain. So if your plan is to continue this to August 25th, I suggest you then ask the applicant to agree in writing to extend the public hearing deadline to August 25th.
Okay. Applicant, I'm asking, would you approve? Extend the deadline to August 25th, and I think it has to be in writing. You have to fill out a form or something.
Yes.
Yes?
We'll follow up tomorrow with an extension form.
All right. So do we then have to now vote to continue to August 25th?
Yes.
Do we also have to vote on the site visit, or that just will
You do
happen?
not have to vote on a site visit. Now, if you want, because the applicant's actually present here, if you want to figure out a date that works right now, you could do that, or you could rely on staff to reach out to the applicant tomorrow and schedule that.
Personally, I wouldn't mind waiting for the staff to reach out and make sure I have all my calendars and all that. Okay. So, would someone like to make a motion to continue hearing, what's our number?
What is it? Yeah.
Number 15 dash, what are we, 13, 14,
Somebody do it?
yeah.
So I'd like to make a motion to continue 1139, 1151 Washington Street.
To the next hearing, scheduled hearing on August 25th.
To what?
To the next scheduled ZBA meeting.
To the
on
next
August
scheduled
25th.
ZBA meeting.
On August 25th, folks.
On
So that
August
everybody
25th.
here knows when your next meeting's going to be.
So our next meeting will be August 25th.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right. I don't think we have any other business tonight, do we? Do we have to do that while the meeting's open, or should I? Okay. All right. I think that concludes the Braintree Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. Oh, we need a motion to adjourn, sorry. One more motion. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
One
I agree.
second.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We are now adjourned. Thank you.